Are you going to sue Blake Lively too?
Into oblivion, Megan. Wait till you see this lawsuit. It's all going to be based on evidence. It's not going to be just a lawsuit. It's going to be the kind of lawsuit that is full of evidence, admissions, documents, which prove exactly Blake Lively's publicist, Leslie Sloan, was planting stories negative to Justin. And all Justin wanted to do, and it's all through the text messages. If the New York Times apparently reviewed 1,000 or more pages of text messages, they would have seen it. Justin never wanted to hurt her, never wanted to be negative to her. He wanted to protect the film. He wanted to protect himself, and he wanted to protect her from making negative allegations about him that were made up and that are proven in this case.
Blake Lively was caught off guard on live television when Bryan Freedman dropped a remark that left her momentarily stunned. It wasn't a moment where her usual grace and wit could instantly smooth things over. Instead, his unexpected comment created a surreal pause, a brief, charged silence that disrupted the rhythm of an otherwise routine exchange.
The New York Times, her publicist, worked directly with the New York Times. They shared illegally obtained text messages. They shared those together. They concocted a complaint that they filed with the Civil Rights Division. They omitted texts that would have provided context, texts that were in the exact same string that would have provided context of what was really going on. And in fact, they actually removed emojis from texts that show that there was satire and there was joking around by the PR crisis agents. I mean, the PR crisis agents.
Observers noted a brief flicker in her usual sparkle, replaced by a look of disbelief tinged with ironic amusement. In a world where every remark is scrutinized and every reaction dissected, her fleeting silence spoke louder than any rehearsed comeback. As the cameras rolled and the live audience hung onto every second, it became evident that even the ever-poised Blake Lively wasn't immune to the unpredictability of live television. Who knew that a single comment could leave a Hollywood icon momentarily, if only ever so dramatically, speechless?
Okay, so this is an excerpt from my new favorite book, which is the website that Justin Baldoni published, all about his correspondence with Blake Lively. And this is one of my favorite excerpts with my new favorite Game of Thrones character, Blake Lively. Are you ready for it? And him serving it back to her is just as important. You don't usually see both the man and the woman with such agency and humor. Anyway, I can act it out for you next week to make sure it comes through. Or I can send it now. Let me know what you prefer. XX. To which Justin Baldoni responded, sorry, I was just crying my eyes out as kids and family just left for another 5 weeks and it was a shit show. Heart emoji, heart emoji, heart emoji.
What was meant to be a routine live broadcast quickly became anything but. The stage was set for the unexpected, and Bryan Freedman, known for his offhand remarks and talent for stirring the pot, decided this was his moment. With a comment as audacious as it was unfiltered, he seized the spotlight in a scene that could only be described as a collision of spontaneity and celebrity. Leaning into the microphone, a sly grin playing on his lips, Bryan looked every bit the showman about to drop a truth bomb. His words sliced through the studio's ambient chatter like a hot knife through butter, leaving no room for pretense. With his signature nonchalance, he touched on a topic that struck a little too close to home for Blake, one that had long been whispered behind closed doors but had never been so boldly thrust into the unforgiving glare of live television.
Bryan Freedman, Justin Baldoni's attorney, has just shot back at Blake Lively's motion to dismiss. Blake is abusing the legal system. 3 exclamation points. Bryan Freedman tells TMZ Miss Lively's recent motion to dismiss herself from the self-concocted disaster.
The comment was an unexpected twist in an otherwise polished exchange. Until that moment, the conversation had maintained a veneer of polite banter. But Bryan, with his devilishly smug tone and irreverent delivery, turned a seemingly trivial remark into something far more charged. As his words echoed through the studio, the camera landed on Blake Lively. Her reaction was immediate and unmistakable, a fleeting expression that seemed to say, asterisk, really? You can't be serious. Asterisk, her eyes widened just enough to reveal she wasn't simply processing the comment. She was resisting the urge to fire back with a razor-sharp retort. For a brief moment, the carefully curated facade of Hollywood cracked, exposing something raw and unfiltered, a genuine, unscripted response even the most seasoned celebrity could never fully anticipate.
She bullied her way through the process to take over the movie and used her PR people to try and destroy Justin. There's a number of different defendants here. Stephanie Jones will be all over this complaint. That is the PR agent who was supposed to be working for Justin Baldoni. Leslie Sloan, who's another PR agent who will be part of this lawsuit. That was Blake Lively's. Blake Lively will be sued, and we're carefully considering other people that will be sued also. Ryan Reynolds, for
Bryan, reveling in the power of his own spontaneity, continued to push the moment further. Every word dripped with self-assurance, making it impossible to ignore. It wasn't long before the studio's atmosphere shifted, from lighthearted banter to an almost electric tension. The audience, a mix of industry insiders and devoted fans, sat at the edge of their seats, each wondering what the fallout of this unscripted exchange might be. Some smirked at the irony. After all, it's not every day that a Hollywood darling like Blake Lively is left momentarily speechless by an offhand remark. Others, however, watched with bated breath, fully aware that this was the kind of moment destined to be dissected by tabloids, social media, and late-night comedians for weeks to come.
Bryan Freedman, Justin Baldoni's attorney, has just shot back at Blake Lively's motion to dismiss. Blake is abusing the legal system. 3 exclamation points. Bryan Freedman tells TMZ Ms. Lively's recent motion to dismiss herself from the self-concocted disaster she initiated is one of the most abhorrent examples of abusing our legal system. Freedman says stringent rules are put into place to protect the innocent and allow individuals to rightfully defend themselves, while noting laws are not meant to be twisted and curated by privileged elites to fit their own personal agenda. In his statement to TMZ, Freedman reiterated, as we said yesterday in response to Mr. Reynolds' same cowardly measures, we will continue to hold Ms. Lively accountable for her actions of pure malice, which include falsely accusing my clients of harassment and retaliation. Freedman summed it up by saying Blake's fantastical claims will be swiftly debunked as discovery moves forward, easily disproved with actual evidentiary proof.
Behind the scenes, the production team scrambled to maintain control. Directors exchanged knowing glances, producers whispered urgent instructions into earpieces, each aware they were witnessing a defining moment in live television. Blake's initial shock was fleeting, quickly replaced by a practiced smile, one that didn't quite reach her eyes. It was the kind of smile that silently conveyed, I see what you did there, and I'm not entirely amused. If one could eavesdrop on her thoughts, they might hear a string of sharp retorts and witty comebacks, each crafted to deflect the uncomfortable attention suddenly thrust upon her. Yet, in that moment, the art of the perfect response was lost in translation. Instead, there was only silence, a silence that spoke louder than any words ever could.
He's the bad guy. And just to lay it out for the audience in a little bit more detail, what she's claiming is that even though she was a much bigger star than Justin Baldoni, who I never heard of before this lawsuit, she's the much bigger star, and she's married to an even bigger star than she is, Ryan Reynolds, that she came in and onto this project and started to get harassed and mistreated by Justin and some others, and that when she then demanded that all of her concerns be rectified, that he did it, but that he was basically lying in wait for when the film would get released in case she went public with what happened, that he and his PR team determined to bury her, to ruin her, and that this wave of bad press we did see about Blake Lively when the film came out this past summer was not organic. It was totally orchestrated by Justin and his team, and they've gotten their hands on a bunch of texts.
The conversation drifted on, as if the incident had been nothing more than a minor hiccup in an otherwise seamless exchange. Bryan, ever the provocateur, laced the discussion with additional remarks, each one sharper than the last. His tone remained light, almost playful, as if engaging in harmless banter with an old friend. Yet beneath the surface, there was a deliberate mischief, an unmistakable intent to unsettle the carefully curated public image of one of Hollywood's most beloved stars. Blake's responses, when they came, were measured and composed, betraying none of the inner turmoil the remark may have stirred. Instead, she delivered the kind of polished, almost rehearsed retorts that celebrities must master under the unrelenting scrutiny of live television, maintaining her poise even as the undercurrent of tension rippled just beneath the surface.
Baldoni's the bad guy. And just to lay it out for the audience in a little bit more detail, what she's claiming is that even though she was a much bigger star than Justin Baldoni, who I never heard of before this lawsuit, she's the much bigger star, and she's married to an even bigger star than she is, Ryan Reynolds, that she came in and onto this project and started to get harassed and mistreated by Justin and some others, and that when she then demanded that all of her concerns be rectified, that he did it, but that he was basically lying in wait for when the film would get released in case she went public with what happened, that he and his PR team determined to bury her, to ruin her, and that this wave of bad press we did see about Blake Lively when the film came out this past summer was not organic. It was totally orchestrated by Justin and his team, and they've gotten their hands on a bunch of texts.
As the segment unfolded, the moment took on a life of its own. Each time Bryan's words echoed through the studio, there was a subtle shift in energy, a collective intake of breath, a pause in laughter, a silent realization that something extraordinary had just occurred. It wasn't just the remark itself that captivated audiences, but the way it was delivered. In a medium where every word is scrutinized and every expression magnified, even the smallest misstep can become a defining moment. And on this day, that misstep belonged to Bryan Freedman, a brazen comment that left Blake momentarily disarmed, turning an ordinary exchange into a moment of live television history.
Blake Lively writes, I can send you my pass at the roof, or just read with you when we get together next week. Let me know what you prefer, smiley face. If you knew me in person longer, you'd have a sense of just how flirty and yummy the ball busting would play. It's my love language, spicy and playfully bold, never with tea.
Despite the underlying tension, the show carried on with its carefully planned segments. The host, ever the consummate professional, worked to redirect the conversation, using humor and lighthearted commentary to restore balance. Yet the damage was done. The studio audience, now buzzing with whispers and knowing glances, was keenly aware of the unspoken drama that had just played out. Meanwhile, social media exploded in real time. Fans and critics alike offered their sardonic takes, flooding timelines with tweets and posts dissecting the moment with a mix of amusement, outrage, and disbelief. Within minutes, memes emerged, immortalizing the instant when a single remark transformed an ordinary broadcast into an unforgettable spectacle of unscripted brilliance.
Baldoni, because he treated me well and did nothing wrong, and I allowed him to sit in a basement with his family because I was starstruck by Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, that Blake Lively was the aggressor in this now epic showdown. Was it right after was it when Baldoni dropped the countersuit? Was it when Bryan Freedman put up the website with the 170 pages and all the text? Or was it right away when the Times wrote?
Right away. I've always had an intuition about her, and I've always had an intuition about Taylor Swift and like the branding of the nice girl stuff. And something just didn't, I went through Justin Baldoni's Instagram and he just seemed like a puppy. And I read, it just didn't add up to me that this guy was secretly just dying to talk about pornography all the time and talk about his porn addiction and wanted her to look at pornography. I'm going, this is not the Instagram feed I'm looking through. And I went back.
In the days that followed, the incident became fodder for endless discussion. Talk shows, podcasts, and online forums dissected the interplay between Bryan's bold remark and Blake's unexpected silence. Analysts debated whether his comment was a calculated move or an offhand slip, an unfiltered moment in an industry where every word is meticulously curated. Some saw it as a deliberate provocation, an attempt to crack the polished facade of celebrity culture and expose the vulnerabilities beneath. Others argued it was a simple miscommunication, blown out of proportion by an audience hungry for controversy. Regardless of interpretation, one thing was undeniable. The moment had left a lasting mark on live television, a reminder of its unpredictable nature and the power of the unscripted.
It was monstrous what she did, and she's got to pay for it.
In the weeks that followed, industry insiders speculated on the fallout. Some argued the incident might push publicists to rethink their media coaching, emphasizing rapid-fire comebacks and unwavering poise. Others believed it could encourage a new wave of on-air spontaneity, inspiring hosts and guests to embrace unscripted moments. Meanwhile, late-night hosts reveled in the spectacle, weaving the incident into monologues laced with sarcasm and schadenfreude. Every mention only amplified its mystique, turning what might have been a fleeting mishap into a cultural touchstone. For those who relish the irony of live television, it was a reminder that the most unforgettable moments aren't always planned. They just happen.
Ryan Reynolds has a few secrets in the closet, too, that they don't want people to be taking a look at, and it's going to destroy these people. That's why they wanted this attorney's eyes only privilege. And basically, we can say anything. The public can't see it, just the attorneys. It was kind of a radical thing to want, and they were arguing that, careers could be ruined. Well, what could be ruined? You might be a little embarrassed, but to ruin a career, there has to be some level of fraud in terms of how you're presenting yourself to the public and who you are in private. And so that kind of a desperate sort of a pleading, which was to do something that was abnormal and file for this attorney eyes only, which they didn't give them. He kind of half-waited and said, according to medical records, which is self-explanatory. But that lets me know that they're scared and they're not going to admit that until they lose the dismissals. And then I think they're going to want to settle.
The episode became a case study in balancing candor with decorum. Bryan Freedman's remark, delivered with a smirk and a wink, disrupted not just the conversation's flow, but also the carefully curated image of one of Hollywood's brightest stars. Though Blake Lively's silence was brief, its impact lingered. For those who witnessed it, the moment epitomized the unpredictability of live television, a reminder that beneath every polished persona lies the potential for unscripted brilliance or a sharp dose of irony. There was no dramatic resolution, just exchanged glances, hushed chuckles, and an unspoken understanding that the best moments on live TV are often the most unexpected. In hindsight, the incident is celebrated as much for its humor as its audacity, proving that spontaneity, especially when wrapped in wit, can leave a lasting impression.